Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much to Dr. Hanifah Heda and Dr. Zamri because teaching us about law of thought, which is trespass to land, the topic that we choose regarding our assignment. Before we start our presentation, I want to introduce our group member first. First is me, Adam Daniel bin Hanisam. Second, Junior Stelitan, Danish bin Hiryadi, Bayezid Mustafa bin Budi Yarif, and Andrew Chin Lee Kuan. Okay. The case that I choose regarding topic trespass to land is David bin Mahadus against Sabah Forestry Development Authority and NF. The facts of this case, the land in question located in Bengkokam Peninsula, district of Sabah, was gazetted to the plaintiff, which is SAFODA, Sabah Forestry Development Authority, by the Sabah state government and was set aside for afforestation resettlement scheme. The appellant, which David bin Mahadus was a settler and along with his follower entered and occupied a portion of the gazetted land, referred to as Kamanchi Gandawari, without the permission of first plaintiff, which SAFODA. The issue of this case, whether the appellant trespassed in the land gazetted to the respondent, and the law in this case, which Section 65 Sabah Ordinal Land, which native customary right, Section 69 Sabah Ordinal Land, Section 114 Subsection G of the Evident Act 1950, Section 103 of the Evident Act 1950. This case also refer to the case Tenaga Nasional Berhad and Bukit Lenang Development Sdn Bhd, MBF Property Service Sdn Bhd, and Madihil Development Sdn Bhd. Okay, for the application of this case, first, the mental state of the defendant, which are the intention to trespass. The appellant claimed the native customary right over the disputed area based on customary tenure. Second is voluntary act. The appellant and his followers entered the phase 1 of Bengkokam Peninsula, the area gazetted to the plaintiff, which SAFODA, without the plaintiff consent. The second application is interfered, which are remaining on the land. The appellant and his followers erected structures on the plaintiff land. And the second, damage to property. The appellant and his follower destroyed the planted for forest plantation on the plaintiff land. Okay, for the conclusion of this case, the High Court in Sabah dismissed the appellant appeal, ruling they were trespassers on land gazetted to the Sabah Forestry Development Authority. The defendant claim to native customary right was rejected due to lack of evidence. The court awarded 4,000 ringgit in nominal damages to the respondent with 8,000 ringgit in cost. The appellant and followers were ordered to leave, remove their structures and were prohibited from entering the land. For the recommendation, what the defendant should do is the defendant should obey the judgment to avoid penalties, while the plaintiff must enforce the decision to protect their land and development plans.
Hi Dr. My name is Darius and I will present the case of Bayangan Sepadu Sdn Bhd against Jabatan Pengairan dan Saliran Negeri Selangor. And the facts in this case, appellant purchased the land in the public auctions and discovered a French retention pond and a skeleton structure on the land already used for a flood mitigation project. The land title has now record of surrender to the state authority. The issue is whether respondents were liable to pay appellant damages for trespassing upon the land. And the law that we use in this case, one of them is National Land Code. The appellant, as the registered owner of the land, rely on this section to assess that damages promised to the surrender the land by the previous owner did not affect the registered title. The court upheld this, affirming that the appellant title was protected under this section. Applying all the elements of trespass to land in this case, the respondent entered and occupied the appellant land, constructing permanent structure like retention pond and substation without legal authorization. Their action was intentionally, voluntarily, and forcibly interferes with the appellant land as they refused to vacate despite demands. Conclusion for this case, the case emphasized the importance of following the National Land Code and protecting registered ownership under the torrent system. The federal court upheld the appellant individual title and held that the respondent liable for trespass due to their unregistered claim. And for recommendation, appellant is recommended to conduct thorough land research and inspection before purchasing property, maintaining clear record and act quickly to assert ownership right when the dispute arises. And for the respondent, ensuring compliance with the National Land Code, register all land interests, and maintaining proper documentation and are crucial to avoid the future conflict. That's all for me. Thank you.
So for the next case is Pemimpinan ABSB Jaya Sdn Bhd versus Lifestyle and Healthcare Service Sdn Bhd. So for the facts of the case is the plaintiff owned an land and the first defendant owned an adjacent land. The main issue of this case is the defendant built an embankment and culvert and crossed the plaintiff land without permission and failed to remove the despite demands. So for the issue of this case is whether the defendant action which is encroaching onto the plaintiff land without consent constitute a breach of agreement. The second issue of this case is whether the plaintiff entitled to the removal of this structure and damage for the unauthorized of use of the land. Moving to the next is law in this case. So the first one is the Section 101 Evident Act 1950. The next one is General Principle of Contract Law in Malaysia, page 36. The case also refer another case which is Segalis 2 Sdn Bhd versus Wong Kai Chuan. The next case to be referred is the Embassy Land Sdn Bhd versus Majlis Pembelajaran Kedah. Moving to the next is application. So the second defendant entry on the defendant land was lawful due to the consolidator is granting the permission. The entry was voluntary, but the defendant should have foreseen that the action like building an embankment and install a culvert could cause the interference with the plaintiff land. While the defendant have the right to enter, but staying longer than the needed their walk will constitute the interference. Additionally, the second defendant built an embankment and installed a culvert without permission. However, they were not obligated to follow the earthwork drawing, as it is not referenced in the consent letter. For the conclusion, the court dismissed the plaintiff case because the court also rejected the trespass claim and stating that the second defendant act within the consent letter terms. It accepted the first defendant expert testimony over the plaintiff and finding no breach. So the claim of nuisance and trespass were dismissed due to the failure to meet the burden of proof. So for the last one is recommendation, the plaintiff should focus on proving that the second defendant appealing work is divided from the agreed earthwork drawing and causing the damage to their land. However, the defendant should argue that they had a clear preference from the plaintiff that through a consent letter to carry out the earth filling work.
In another case, Easy Vistas Neighborhood and Tenaga Nasional 2020, Mr. Lim here owned the land that was auctioned by Dana Harta after a long default, and the appellant here became the owner in 2005, and in 2002, the respondent notified Madam Chan, who is Mr. Lim's widow, of plans to enter the land for a transmission line. And in 2017, the appellant sued for trespass, alleging that pylons were erected without proper compensation, while the respondent claimed compensation was ordered in 2004. And the issue of this case is whether the respondent entry constitutes a trespass to land despite the compensation order. There are cases that we can refer to, which is Kelsen and Code 1957, where small encroachments are trespass regardless of objection. And the second case that we can refer to is Tenaga Nasional Berhad and Trespass Development Berhad 2008, where entry is lawful if there is no objection within the statutory period. And the third case that we can refer to is Fairs Oasis Berhad and Tenaga Nasional Berhad 2020, where TNB's transmission line construction is lawful due to the estate's approval. And the last case that we can refer to is Armangkang and Playa Dajmana and Tenaga Nasional Berhad 2011. There is no trespass as the TNB had legal permission. With the case, we can apply the elements of the trespass to land, which is the mental state of the defendant, where the defendant intended to trespass by erecting pylons on acres of land, and the entry was also voluntary and interference with the land is also foreseeable. And the second element, which is the interference, entry and placing pylons are allowed under the Electricity Supply Act, but the compensation is required for damages. And staying longer than needed or causing underground disruption could also lead to claims for compensation. In conclusion, the court upheld the compensation order stating that respondents' actions were lawful under the Electricity Supply Act 1990. The appellant, however, as the new landowner, was bound by the uncharged order and no trespass occurred, making the appellant's claim were dismissed. And so, the advice should be given to the appellant is to focus on ensuring compensation is properly transferred if it is wrongly given, and for the respondent, on the other hand, is to keep clear records, inform new landowners of right, and follow the Electricity Supply Act to avoid disputes.
Assalamualaikum. This is the case of Fu Chimeng versus Lee Hamoy. For facts, the plaintiff Fu Chimeng is the registered owner of land in Cameron Highlands. The defendant Lee Hamoy occupied the land and built a bungalow without permission. She claimed it belonged to the Puan Haida, who allegedly leased it to her since 2010, but provided no proof of ownership, only rental receipt. The issue of the case whether the plaintiff the registered owner, whether the defendant occupied the land without consent, whether Puan Haida the rightful owner. Under the NLC, this case used section 89 and 340, and this case referred to Puspalela versus Rajamani. And for a claim of trespass to succeed, 3 elements must be proven, was outlined in Terra Damasara versus Nandex Development. In applying this principle to the case, the plaintiff successfully established ownership of the land under section 89 of the NLC, which provide conclusive evidence of his title. As for the mental state of the defendant, while she claimed to be a tenant and showed no intention to trespass, her failure to verify the true ownership of the land amounted to negligence. This unintentional trespass occurred when she voluntarily occupied the land starting from the 2010, paying rent to Puan Haida. Her action forcibly interfered with the plaintiff's right as the rightful landowner. Regarding interference, the defendant's entry and prolonged occupation of the land, spanning from 2010 to 2022, constitute continuous trespass. This violation was aggravated by the unauthorized construction of a bungalow on the plaintiff's property, which further infringed his right. However, there was no evidence of any interference with the subsurface of the land. For conclusion, the court ruled in favor of the plaintiff, ordering the defendant to vacate the land within 30 days, demolish unauthorized structures, and pay 250,000 ringgit engineering damages for prolonged trespass. For recommendation, to avoid similar dispute, local authorities should verify ownership before approving permits and enforce strict monitoring. Landowners must inspect properties regularly and act promptly against trespassers. Tenants should confirm ownership documents before leasing to prevent conflicts.